This is Glow in the Dark Radio. The science fiction podcast with original independent science fiction written and performed by Mike Luoma, with music by Kevin MacLeod. The Vatican Assassin Trilogy and The Adventures of Alibi Jones by Mike Luoma are available in ebook, trade paperback, and audiobook wherever you find your books online. Get links and details at glowinthedarkradio.com. This is the Science Fiction Podcast, Glow in the Dark Radio. I'm your host, your writer and reader, Mike Luoma. And we're going to get into part 2 of Chapter 8 of Alibi Jones and the Sunrise of Her, part of the Alibi Jones Chronological Omnibus on this Glow in the Dark Radio episode. Well, Alibi Jones is in the archives on the planet Depot. He's paid bribes and special clearances to the planet's corrupt officials just to get his hands on old star charts that his Aunt Anita had already released to him. The old star chart should show Alibi the way to the planet Metcalf, where supposedly he'll find the ancient enemy artifact known as the Travel Chair of Inokata. Bringing that back to Finder should get Alibi what he really seeks in return, the sunrise of her. Alibi Jones on Depot has just opened the archives drawer where the star charts are supposed to be found. We'll see what he finds in part 2 of Chapter 8 of Alibi Jones and the Sunrise of Her on this episode of Glow in the Dark Radio. A big thank you to patrons who help keep the show going. Keep the lights on, keep the bills paid. So, yes, patrons do a lot for Glow in the Dark Radio. And if you are a patron, I just want to be sure you know that and say thank you. And I want to invite you to become a patron if you're not already and help support the show. We've got 3 levels of membership, totally voluntary. It's up to you. You can do it for $2, $5, or $10 a month, and you can do that through the site called Patreon, Patreon, patreon.com/glowinthedarkradio. And there's links, of course, from my site, from glowinthedarkradio.com and mikeluoma.com. So if you'd like to become a patron, or if you want to find out more about becoming a patron, just head on over there. And if you are a patron, be sure to check up and see, early episodes and things that might have come your way. I think this one's early, should be. If all goes according to plan, you're getting it early. Last week's was early, so. And then I try to get exclusive stuff, but I haven't had a chance to really put anything cool together yet. But there'll be more. Also, I want to mention that the ebook for Alibi Jones and the Sunrise of Her is on sale for nothing. It's a free ebook in several select retail outlets, several select ebook outlets. There's a couple that aren't playing along where it's still 99 cents, and I'm sorry, but if you look around or do a little search for Alibi Jones and the Sunrise of Her, you can get this ebook for free. You can also look for the paperback in about a week, I believe. Sometime this week, it may actually shift to the sale price. I'm trying to take $2.95 off the regular price. So it should be like $20 in the US and in the EU and $30 in Canada and $30 in Australia, and I think it's 18 British pounds. So that's what the sale price should be for this paperback, the paperback of the book we're doing that you're listening to on this podcast. And we are going to get into part 2 of this chapter, Chapter 8 of Alibi Jones and the Sunrise of Her, coming up next on Glow in the Dark Radio.
Wake up, go to work. Work. Come home. Eat dinner. Rot your brain out. Go to bed. Lather. Rinse. Repeat. Are you tired of an old humdrum life? Tired of things that just weigh you down and depress you? Wouldn't you rather just focus on things that are awesome? Tune into Nutty Bites. Find out what's awesome. Nutty Bites. nimlas.org/blog.
Now here's part 2 of Chapter 8 of Alibi Jones and the Sunrise of Her on Glow in the Dark Radio. Alibi slides the drawer open and looks inside. A brown cardboard accordion file holds an inch-thick stack of documents, old hard copies of the earliest star charts used by the project to jump to and from Depot when they first started exploring the surrounding systems. I've never seen that much paper in one place before. Alibi lifts the folder out and closes the drawer. Looking up, he notices Keeler no longer stands in the vault doorway. Alibi motions to the security officer to precede him from the vault. "Let's go," Alibi says. "Yes, sir," the officer answers. He leads BC out of the vault, past Keeler and Singh, who are looking down at a secure screen with some amazement. "Don't spend it all in one place," Alibi cracks as he walks past. He saunters through the crowd in the bank lobby and out the doors. Once out of the Garrison Bank building, Alibi runs to his cruiser. "Let's get these charts under lock and key." Alibi secures the cruiser's airlock behind him. He exhales. "Didn't realize I was holding my breath." Alibi smiles. "Can't wait to get out of here." He heads for the bridge. Alibi looks at the antique folder in his hands. Old-fashioned star charts. Somewhere in this stack, presumably, is the actual location of the original planet of Metcalf. "Trust Keeler about as far as I could throw him," Alibi says, thinking out loud to himself as he reaches the bridge of his ship. "That's smart, son, just not smart enough," a deep, raspy voice interrupts. Alibi sees its source. A gray-haired old man in a plain gray flight suit rises up out of the co-pilot's chair. The steely gray eyes of the man match his suit, and they're trained on Alibi, along with the muzzles of the 2 pistols he holds in his hands. "I'm gonna need you to hand that folder over to me now," he tells Alibi, gesturing with the pistol in his right hand. "Guy sounds like a cowboy. Wonder who he's working for. Wonder what they're paying him." "Did you hear me?" The old man prods him with the question. "I'm thinking about it," Alibi answers. "You need me to give you a deadline? And I do mean a deadline," the man says, waving the pistol and trying to sound menacing. "Hand him over." "Really?" Alibi laughs. Then something clicks. A memory surfaces. "Wait a second," Alibi says. "I know you, don't I? You're that actor!" "Seen this guy on shows. He used to do movies." "You used to narrate those travel movies. You're Tom somebody." "No, I'm not," he says. The man tries to threaten Alibi with his guns again, but Alibi has broken through the older man's tough guy facade. "Now, give 'em here. Give me those charts." "Are those guns even real?" Alibi asks. He lunges to grab for one of the guns. "Hey!" the man in gray shouts as he pulls back from Alibi's grabbing hands. One of the guns goes off. Fwash! Alibi feels the hair on his head heat up, slightly singed. The blaster's pistol shot burns through the back of the bridge, leaving a smoking hole clean through to the hallway beyond the wall. "Guess they're real," Alibi concedes. "You trying to get yourself killed?" the old man asks. "Nah, thought that since you're an actor, those would be like, props, Alibi says. "I'm not." The man starts to protest vigorously, but loses his steam fast. "I'm not an actor." He sighs. "Not anymore." "Aha! So you are that guy, Tom something or other." "Thomas," the man corrects him. "Brady Thomas." "Yeah," Alibi says. "I remember now." Alibi begins to mimic the older man's voice. "Hi, I'm Brady Thomas, and this is the exotic planet of Poyas." "Cut that shit out," the older man snaps. "That was another me, another place and time. I don't do that anymore." "Nobody wants an old man narrating their footage, huh?" Alibi asks. "Watch it, kid," the old actor says, darkening. "Sorry," Alibi apologizes. The two men stand staring at each other across the close confines of the cruiser's bridge, silent for a moment. Alibi breaks the silence. "So, you working for them?" Alibi asks. "Keeler and Singh?" "Why? You think they're the only ones who want to get their hands on those charts? Those things are valuable to a lot of folks," Thomas tells him. "Yeah, but there are only a handful of folks who know that I've got my hands on them," Alibi points out. "Huh. Well, maybe you are pretty smart at that," Thomas says with a little chuckle. "How much are they paying you?" Alibi asks him. Thomas stares at Alibi in stunned silence. "What?" Thomas asks after the awkward pause. Whoever is paying you, I'll double it," Alibi tells the man. "So long as you go away and leave me alone." "Huh. Will that do it? Will it work?" Thomas and Alibi stare back and forth, locked in a sort of stare-down. "You're serious?" Thomas asks. "Dead serious," Alibi says. "I mean, look, you've got guns aimed at me." "That could make you say almost anything," Thomas notes. "It could also make me willing to deal with you," Alibi points out. "Give you double what you're getting now. In your bank account, today, right now." "Double?" Thomas asks. "Right now?" He shakes his head. "Now I know you're full of shit, kid. There's no way someone like you could get me that much cash that fast." Thomas straightens up and holds Alibi in his aim as he tightens his grip on the guns. "It's not me. Not my money," Alibi says. "No?" He's at least curious. "Whose is it then? Whose money?" Thomas asks him. "I'm not supposed to say," Alibi tells the man, looking him in the eye. Alibi looks down at the gun barrels pointed his way. "Let's just say I've got the means. And you've made a convincing argument," Alibi says, looking at the man's guns. "Wise ass," Thomas says. "Who are you working for? Ever hear the name Richard Wentworth?" "The Richard Wentworth? Are you kidding?" Alibi only stares back at Brady Thomas. Thomas blinks. "Do we have a deal?" Alibi asks. The older man is thinking. "Well?" Alibi prods. "Deal," Thomas says after a minute. "Deal?" "Sure," Thomas says. Alibi smiles. "But you gotta pay me now." Alibi pulls out his wand and calls up Wentworth's account. "No problem. How much?" he asks. Thomas names his price. "Even if that's more than double what he usually gets, it's a fraction of what Keeler and Singh asked for." "Done," Alibi says. Thomas looks surprised, but he holsters one of his guns so he can pull out his wand. Thomas logs on, and the screen lights up. "Okay then, send it over," the old man says. Alibi calls up the account on his wand and arranges the transfer, wand to wand. Alibi's screen lights up in red. "Denied," the wand says. "What?" "Hold on a sec," he says to Thomas. The old man still has one pistol in hand, and he brings it back up, trained on Alibi. Suddenly more hostile, Thomas threatens Alibi anew. "You make promises to me you can't keep, you make it personal," he tells Alibi. "Give me a minute," Alibi asks. Thomas nods in agreement. Alibi calls Wentworth on the wand. "I need another transfer," Alibi says when the connection goes through.
"Not even a hello?"
Wentworth teases.
"I'm offended."
"I'm in a delicate situation. Why are you stopping me?" Alibi asks.
"You just transferred an enormous amount of cash. You are telling me you need more?"
"A little more, yes," Alibi replies. "Is that a problem?"
"No."
The screen on Alibi's wand changes from red to green. Thomas's transfer goes through. "Thank you," Alibi says over the wand's comm to Wentworth.
"I am impressed with the level of greed on Depot. Quite ambitious,"
Wentworth says.
"You're welcome. Well, best of luck to you, Alibi."
He signs off. Weird. He almost sounded, human? Compassionate? Thomas holsters the other pistol as the transfer registers on his wand. "Well, look at that," Thomas says, as a smile spreads across his face. "There it is." He straightens up and salutes Alibi. "My apologies.
You're a man of your word.
Thanks, Alibi says. So, you gonna get off my ship?
I will if you want me to,
Thomas says, shifting his stance.
But, well, kid, I figure you've paid my retainer for about a month, at least. So I'll go with you, wherever those things,
He nods at the star charts.
lead you. If you want me to,
He offers. Alibi smiles, but he shakes his head. Thanks, he says to Thomas. Thank you very much. But I'm not sure you should. It could be dangerous. Thomas laughs.
Really? More dangerous than an old ex-actor holding you at gunpoint, huh?
Probably, Alibi says. He smiles. No offense, but you don't seem that dangerous. To me, I mean.
Well, not anymore,
Thomas says in his own defense.
but that's 'cause you paid me.
True, Alibi concedes. But, Alibi debates telling the man too much. I can tell him some of it. I'm going to an old Eldred world, Alibi says. Could be booby-trapped. Maybe poisoned. No guarantee of survival. No pleasure cruise.
An Eldred world,
Thomas says. His eyes are wide.
You crazy kid?
Maybe, Alibi admits.
Going for the high risk, high return, huh?
Thomas asks.
You never heard of the Knicks of Niberia, did you?
The who of what?
The Knicks of Niberia. Knew you'd never heard the story. Kids today.
Thomas trails off, still shaking his head.
Classic cautionary tale about the Eldred worlds.
Thomas squints in at Alibi.
Even if you can land on an Eldred world, you might not want to.
What? Why not? Alibi asks. Be careful what you wish for?
Absolutely,
Thomas says.
The Knicks thought its people had stumbled across a shortcut to power. The great Knicks of Nibar was given a gift. A Nibarian expedition to the former Eldred world of Scantalon found a device that appeared to be a powerful personal transport. Some people said it was a powerful device most people had only heard of in legends, the travel chair of Inokata.
What? Alibi says. Thomas pauses in his narrative and looks over at Alibi.
Oh, Thomas says. So you have heard of the travel chair of Inokata?
Maybe, Alibi says, cautiously.
Well, Thomas continues, just remember this story. The great Knicks thought that the artifact which had come into its possession was the travel chair of Inokata, but when the great Knicks got into the capsule, its systems began surrounding him. That old alien technology wired the great Knicks right into its workings. Evidently, the weapon system they had stumbled across used a live host as some sort of living battery, brain, and control center. Since the great Knicks wasn't used to wielding that kind of power, when he got it, he wasn't ready for it. Unprepared and shock, the great Knicks lashed out. The resultant power wave ripped the air from his planet and scoured the surface of Niberia clean. The atmosphere and all signs of life were gone in seconds.
Thomas looks at Alibi, gives him a serious glare.
You've got to be very careful with those ancient devices, kid. You even look at them wrong, and you could level this colony. So I've heard.
I appreciate the warnings, Alibi tells the man. Let's just say I've run into the Eldred's work before. I've seen some ancient devices doing some messed up things. Thomas arches an eyebrow. He nods. Alibi continues. I might be a kid, but I've been traveling around the stars my whole life, he tells the older man, sounding a little defensive. I've seen things that would surprise even you.
I don't know about that, kid.
Whatever, Alibi says. He's beginning to get antsy. Look, I'll be fine. Thanks for the offer, but you should get going now. Off my ship. Besides, don't need some mercenary character tagging along deciding my prize is more valuable than my life. Guy already knows more than he should.
You got a nice ship here,
Thomas tells him. The older man makes for the door, but he turns back to give Alibi some advice.
Change your security codes. They've been, compromised.
Kind of figured that. A thought occurs to Alibi. Hey, he calls Thomas back. There is something you can do for me. Call the garrison and get me special clearance, so I can get out of here. Fast! Thomas sighs and stares at Alibi before he walks back up to the front of the bridge.
You're gonna get me in trouble, kid, Thomas says. But, hey, well, I keep my word when I'm paid well enough. All right, fire up the comm.
Alibi does. Thomas calls into Transcom and gets him flight clearance
with a transspace jump time just 15 minutes ahead, using his own special clearance. Thomas signs off the comm with a grimace on his face, looking as if he's smelled something bad. "Damn," Thomas says. He shakes his head. He again starts to walk off the bridge. "Damn?" Alibi repeats it back as a question, calling after the man. "What damn? Why?" "Was really liking it here on Depot," Thomas says. "Damn shame to have to go." "Why do you have to go?" Alibi asks. "Let you buy out my contract, kid," Thomas says. "Now, they might not have realized it was me turning on them, at least not right away, if you'd just gone quietly. But asking me to get you special clearance? I just broadcast my resignation, pretty much. Soon as they figure out that both you and those old star charts are gone. So I'll be leaving this ship and hopping the next public one leaving out of here. Like I said, damn shame." "Sorry, Thomas," Alibi apologizes. "But otherwise I might not have been able to leave at all." "Yeah, I know that," the older man admits. "Had to be done. Well, that special clearance just cost you. So now I don't owe you nearly so much." Thomas laughs. He leaves the bridge. Alibi hears the airlock cycle open. As the screens blink to life around him on the bridge of the cruiser, Alibi watches on an external camera's feed as the gray-haired man saunters off out of the landing bay. Alibi wastes no more time. He fires up the power plant and the ship's engines. "Want to get out of here while I can." He lifts the cruiser up and out of the port on Depot. The ship climbs into orbit, and Alibi claims his cruiser's spot in the transspace jump queue, with 5 minutes to spare. He decides to ready his transspace engines just in case. He sets course for his favorite spot, in the middle of nowhere. "Thomas told them I was going to Cat's Eye. Guess he assumed that was where I'd head. No need. I'll get off the beaten track, and take a look at the old charts to figure out my next jump." The last ship in front of him in the queue jumps into transspace, disappearing out of sight like a shrinking white dot. Then his comm springs to life. "Alibi Jones, this is Depot Garrison Traffic Command. You are ordered to return to Depot." "Sorry, jumping, you're breaking up." Alibi switches off the comm and punches the transspace drive into action, launching the ship off into deep space towards his preset emergency coordinates, programmed into the cruiser's memory. The cruiser surges with the sudden acceleration and transition into transspace. That was probably a little too close on the heels of the last guy, but it was definitely time to go. Alibi jumps the cruiser back out of transspace at the deep space coordinates. "Welcome to the middle of nowhere." Alibi sets the cruiser on a slow, drifting path, turns on auto course correction for any small objects the ship might need to avoid, and programs a proximity alert to let him know about any bigger things that might come their way. Alibi takes the old folder down to the galley and common room, where he can spread out the star charts and look for Metcalf. As promised, the charts do yield the true location of the actual planet of Metcalf and the yellow sun it orbits. The planet was a newly registered colony back at the time these charts were prepared. Alibi spends the next 2 hours checking the aged hard copies against modern navigation charts, plotting a transspace jump point in the Metcalf system at a hopefully safe enough distance from the planet itself. With a path to the travel chair and hopefully the sunrise of her in place, Alibi's thoughts turn to Katie, in spite of himself. Damn girl, get out of my head. Ironic. Think about her more now that we aren't together. I'll find a way to get her off Kismet somehow, out of Lavalur's fat hands, after I get done with this little wild goose chase. Gotta be a way I can get in there. What the hell is a wild goose, anyway? Always wondered about that expression. Never mind. Gotta concentrate on these calculations. Figure out how to approach the mad planet Metcalf. Alibi completes his part of the figuring. Then he lets the computer crunch the big numbers that will actually bring them into the Metcalf system, far from the temperate zone and the habitable planets, back near the orbits of the system's gas giants. He makes his way back to the bridge and instructs the cruiser to prepare to transspace jump to his new coordinates in the Metcalf system. When the numbers are ready, Alibi launches the cruiser through transspace. Well, here goes.
That was part 2 of Chapter 8 of Alibi Jones and the Sunrise of Her, part of the Adventures of Alibi Jones Chronological Omnibus that we're bringing you here on Glow in the Dark Radio. And that was not easy, nor as painless as Alibi Jones had hoped. Brady Thomas shows up, whose name I did steal from a certain quarterback, and he has already appeared in the Chronological Omnibus. You have come across Brady Thomas before. The announcing that Alibi Jones was quoting from? That was from Alibi Jones' Blind Eye. In that story, Thomas was the spokesman for the Poyas colony, the fake colony that the two women were trying to recruit people for. He was the talking head in the recruitment video. So he hasn't been a part of the story as a character, but he has been a part of the story. After all the money and all the betrayals and backstabbing, Alibi is free from Depot and now heading for the mad planet Metcalf. We'll tag along in Chapter 9 of Alibi Jones and the Sunrise of Her on our next episode of Glow in the Dark Radio. Again, a reminder, the paperback should be on sale in the next week or so you should be able to get the book we're listening to, Alibi Jones and the Sunrise of Her, at a special discount price, like $20 in the States and the EU, and 18 British pounds, and for $30 in Canada and Australia. Should be sale price. Look for it this week sometime, and look for the ebook for free in many select locations. Select retail outlets, ebook outlets. It should be free in some of those spots. Just not at Amazon and a couple others that aren't playing along. But do a search, you'll find the book and be able to grab it for free if you'd like to read along or read ahead. And again, the paperback will be on sale the second half of the month. And that is all for this episode of Glow in the Dark Radio. I'm your host, your writer and reader, Mike Luoma. Thank you once again for listening to Glow in the Dark Radio. Glow in the Dark Radio. This podcast presentation is copyright 2025 by Michael F. Luoma and is protected under a Creative Commons Attribution, Non-Commercial, No Derivatives 4.0 International License, CC by NC-ND 4.0. Music by Kevin MacLeod. You can find his work at Incompetech.com. Mike's books are available in ebook, paperback, and audiobook, wherever you find books online. Get links and more details at glowinthedarkradio.com and mikeluoma.com. This has been a presentation of Glow in the Dark Radio.